So this video has been a long time coming. I've been using the iPad Pro for several months now and I finally feel comfortable reviewing it. Now I want to preface this by saying that I'm not part of the Apple ecosystem at all. Both my desktop and my laptop run Windows, I have an Android phone and other Android tablets. So using this thing was a pretty fresh experience for me. I've got the 12.9-inch iPad Pro with 256 gigabytes of storage. I don't want to bore you with all the specs, but what you really need to know is this thing has an A12X Bionic chip, which is super fast. The display is fully laminated and uses Apple's ProMotion technology, meaning that it runs at 120 Hertz. There's 4 gigabytes of RAM, and there's a single USB-C port on the bottom over here. A lot of the features that I'm going to be talking about here are only available with the iPad OS beta. So if you have an iPad Pro and you're still running iOS 12, just go ahead and get the beta right now. It adds a huge amount of functionality and a lot of things that I think are a necessity for your iPad Pro, especially if you're trying to replace your laptop. Let's get into the design and build quality. You have this minimalist aluminum unibody with small bezels all the way around. There is a lock button on top, as well as a volume rocker on the side, and that's it for buttons. The Face ID camera and sensors are hidden within the top bezel. I thought I was going to have some problems with this, but luckily it works surprisingly well. The iPad Pro is extremely thin, as you can tell. And I'm sure you've all heard the reports of these things bending very easily and sometimes coming bent brand new from the factory. I haven't had any such issues, so far at least. And this is the 12.9-inch version, which for my hands is just fine, but I know for some people it can be a little bit unwieldy. Overall, I love the way this thing looks and feels in the hand. Now, the most important part of any tablet, the display. And what a display this thing has. Like I mentioned before, it's 120 Hertz, so just navigating around the OS and surfing the web is a pleasure because it's so buttery smooth. This doesn't show up well on camera, you just have to use it to see for yourself, but it's hard to go back to 60 Hertz after you do. And the fact that the display is laminated really makes it feel like the pixels are just under your fingertip. The display also gets super bright and the colors really pop. It's not an OLED, but I don't really find myself missing it here. So, the elephant in the room, 4 gigabytes of RAM. I know what you're thinking. That's nothing. I was thinking the exact same thing, especially when you can get phones these days with 12 gigabytes of RAM. Now you can get 6 gigs, but only with the 1 terabyte model. And I think at this price point, Apple should have definitely included more. But with that said, using a tablet every day, I never had any issues. Performance was always snappy. I was worried about background apps closing out too quickly, however that was not the case. Even when you were multitasking and using more than one app at once, it was always fast. There are certain things that I used to do on my desktop that I've now switched over to the iPad Pro for, like editing pictures. I love the fact that I can plug my SD card directly into the USB-C slot, transfer over my raw images, and begin editing them. It's super intuitive and satisfying to do on here, especially when you see the final product on this display that's so good. Also, Safari becoming a real browser is huge. I never have to worry about loading up a mobile site on here. Go to Gmail, open up your docs, go into your Google Photos, maybe some YouTube Creator. Everything works as it should and you never have to worry about it. So the question everyone keeps asking and will continue to ask is, will this thing replace my laptop? And for me, the answer is sometimes. So for work, it's definitely not going to replace my laptop. I have multiple documents open and I need to do a lot of typing, editing, moving things around. And for that, I really need a keyboard and mouse. And while you can technically connect a keyboard to this and sort of a mouse as well, the operating system really holds it back in that regard. If I was to switch over to using this, I would be way less efficient and lose a huge amount of time. Where it does replace my laptop is if I'm going away for the weekend or for the day and I would normally take my laptop for some photo editing, browsing, content consumption, I just go ahead, throw this in my bag instead, and it works out great. And I think a large portion of that has to do with iPad OS. I think for a lot of people out there, this can replace your laptop. It just depends on your particular need and exactly what you do with your laptop. If you need that keyboard or that true mouse or trackpad experience, it might not work out for you. Did I miss Android during my time with the iPad Pro? The answer is honestly no. With iPad OS, you have this today view on here with my calendar, my notifications, everything, and it works really smoothly. So while I do lose some customization, switching over to the iPad compared to Android, the overall experience is much more polished when you compare it to most other Android tablets that I've used in the past. I think the iPad Pro is a great device, and I'm going to keep using it every chance I get. I still think that the price tag is a little bit high, but that's the Apple tax, I suppose. If you are interested in an iPad Pro, there are sales that pop up really often, and you can get an 11-inch entry-level model with 64 gigabytes of storage for around $650, and that's a huge savings over the $799 price tag. Anyway, that's it for me this time. Let me know what you guys think about the iPad Pro in the comments below. Bite that subscribe button, and see you next time. Thanks for watching.